genre.
In the world of Hollywood, movies get greenlit and redlit. They get remade and rebooted. But we are the ideal. I'm Sam Gasch, and you are listening to Ideal Remake. Thank you for listening to Ideal Remake. We take movies that either have been, will be, or should be remade and talk about what the ideal version of that remake would be. Sometimes your entire life boils down to one insane move. And today, that move is attempting to remake James Cameron's Avatar. And to help me is Timm Talk co-host Cameron.Dexter.
Hello.
Or Cameron Brown. How would you like me to introduce you?
Either or.
Alright, cool. So, Cameron, is Avatar a movie that has been, will be, or should be remade?
I say it shouldn't be, but it probably will.
Yeah.
Look, we've been waiting 11 years now.
12.
For the sequel. The sequel was supposed to come out in 2012, was the original date. So I guess it would be 9 years of pushbacks, which will be 10 years because the movie's supposed to be next December.
So was it supposed to be just a single sequel that then got split into 4 movies?
Pretty much, yes.
Wow, that's some real Hobbit energy going on right there.
It really is. And James Cameron is just notorious for pushing these things back. If I can tell a weird personal story really quick, not from me, from my mom.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
My mom used to work at Blockbuster. She was very high up with them and with the Viacom group. And she had a story when they were working on Titanic. When she was in a boardroom with Sumner Redstone, who was head of Viacom at the time. And he called James Cameron in. And he started yelling at James Cameron for being so over budget on Titanic. And James Cameron looked at him. And he said, "I'm going to make the money back." And left the room.
That is James Cameron, king of bold moves.
Yes.
I mean, he's delayed this for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 4 movies. And this is a movie that people talk about its lack of staying power in the, popular subconscious. Do you think he'll make the money back?
I don't know. At this point, because
these movies better be good.
Yes.
Because the original isn't?
So that's the thing. I loved Avatar when it came out.
Past tense.
I still do.
Okay.
I will rephrase that. I was obsessed with... that's what I say. I still love it. The obsession has waned.
Fair.
When the movie originally came out, I was so obsessed. I saw it 4 times opening weekend.
Wow.
I saw it the midnight showing on Thursday night, again Friday night with my parents, Saturday afternoon on my own, and then Sunday night with my high school girlfriend. Good. Where she fell asleep the entire time.
Oh, no. Well, I guess that makes sense.
Sam, hold on. I learned the language.
I know that. I was going to try to let you slip by without exposing that to the world, but nonetheless, go on.
No, I am proud of it.
Oh, okay, good.
I am.
You learned a language. You should be.
Yes, I learned Navian for a brief minute. I couldn't speak Spanish. I could speak Navian before I could speak Spanish. As a kid growing up in Dallas, that says a lot.
I grew up in Arizona, and I also can't speak Spanish.
Yes.
I went to Jewish day school, and we learned to speak Hebrew, and when I went to college, I was like, I should learn to speak Spanish. But all, the Hebrew got in the way, and my wires kept getting crossed, and when I was supposed to learn a Spanish word, all I could think of was the Hebrew word, and I was like, I guess languages aren't for me.
Right.
And I just, gave up.
That's how I felt. The 2 languages I've learned, I can speak Navian, and I can write Elvish.
That's amazing.
And I haven't had a date in 10 years.
That's not true.
That's not true. I had a horrible date last weekend.
There you go. See, the important thing is we've both been ghosted a lot.
Yes.
Because that's what modern dating is.
And that's what James Cameron has done to us for 10 years.
Yes. But what I was going to say is that, it makes sense. I'm going to have you introduce, who you are in a second, but you're an artist. And when I saw this movie, I didn't love it. When even walking out of the theaters in 2009, I described it as, this is a bad movie, but it's a great experience. Mm-hmm. And especially as, an art project, you go in, and one of the things I did when I was researching someone to direct this movie for our remake is I needed someone who was an artist and also a director. And I feel like just because of that logic and the way I kind of see it, it makes sense to me that this is a movie that appeals to you.
Yes.
Because it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. The scenery in this movie is, I'm surprised Disney hasn't done, a Disney Plus, fake nature documentary of Pandora.
Oh.
And I bet I'm sure they're holding out until Avatar 2, but I would not be surprised if we get, a fake Nat Geo Pandora
They should
thing.
do that. That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Cam, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself? Why don't you tell us who we are listening to today?
Yes. Hi, my name is Cameron.Dexter. I am the other half of Timm Talk. You've had my co-host Chris Lord on every now and then. Mm-hmm. We are the podcast about the DC animated universe, co-creator of Bruce Timm.
But who are you?
Yes, I am artist animator out in Los Angeles. I kind of work between a couple different studios, but mainly my love and passions with Disney. And what else do I say? I don't know. I go to the parks a lot.
Yeah, that's great. That's all you needed. You're an artist and you do work for Disney. That's great.
Yeah.
Cool. Good for you.
I'm slightly obsessed.
And so you're super a fan of the fact that Disney now owns Avatar.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah. So I've been to Pandora at Disney World.
Oh.
Because if you don't know,
I don't.
Animal Kingdom a couple years ago, they expanded and made Pandora its own land within one of the parks at Disney World.
That makes sense.
It is incredible. It is so much. The problem is exactly how you started the episode. Is there was no interest for it whatsoever. It was so dulled, and people were like rioting that this was the expansion of Animal Kingdom we were getting. But they recreated the Hallelujah Mountains, and you walk in and you see the floating mountains of Pandora right in front of you, and it is breathtaking.
I mean, that does sound pretty cool.
Yeah, that's like not even just from a fan perspective, as like just a generic theme park person, seeing little floating mountains in front of you is awe-inspiring.
Yeah, that sounds cool. All right, fair enough. I'll give that to you. But like, so when you first saw Avatar in 2009, what was it that, like, you've now had all this time to like think about it? Do you know what it was, other than just the fact that it's a beautiful world, that really like brought you back to this theater 3 more times within a couple of days?
This was my first experience going into a movie completely blind. I'd never seen a trailer for it. I didn't know anything about it. My friend group and I, we went.
That's my preferred way to see movies.
Yeah, the reason we went to the Avatar midnight premiere, one, I just got my license, so I could drive. But mainly, we were such big Last Airbender fans. We were going as a protest to James Cameron's Avatar to promote Avatar: The Last Airbender, and we made shirts. We designed shirts day of that said "Wait, where's Aang?" and wore it to the premiere or the opening night.
Good.
Yes.
So then, of your group of friends, was your perspective unique, or were you all blown away by it?
It was just me.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Oh, no, I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. This movie has been so special for me because I'd seen it so many times through high school and college. I had most of it memorized, which is impressive for being 2 hours and 41 minutes.
Yeah, it's a long movie.
And I went to college in Kansas, and I'd drive back and forth from Dallas to Kansas. I would play the audio for the movie as I was driving back and forth, and that was a third of my drive.
Is that a thing you can do? Is that a thing that exists?
That's what I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, not the soundtrack, just the audio from the movie.
I would play the movie on my phone and just kind of put my phone away so I could hear it going on.
Got it. Which is wild, considering that I just said that I thought it was appealing to you because of its visual component, and you're saying that for a lot of it, for you, it was just listening to it.
Well, I could play it in my head.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's super safe driver.
Yes. Hey, look, there's not a lot of people between Dallas and Kansas, okay?
That's fair.
There's a state no one likes, and then half of Kansas.
Which state?
Oklahoma.
Oh. Does no one like Oklahoma?
Texans don't like Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That tracks. That I remember that now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, fine. Fair enough. So then, for us, for our purposes, I don't know how much of this movie we need to like go over, but I will say, so I saw this movie in theaters in 2009, and then nothing, and then I watched it again a couple nights ago.
Wow. Okay.
And like I had the perspective that I already mentioned, and then watching it again a couple nights ago, I was like, this was fine. This was fun. I had a nice time. I was watching it with a friend of mine, and there were a lot of things in the movie that I didn't remember. And it didn't feel like there was a lot of air that needed to be taken out. So it's a long movie. And they needed to get to the point very fast, but they kept like filling it with stuff.
Yes.
Which I get, but also it needs to be 45 minutes shorter.
I was writing time codes of when we were meeting characters that were important. You don't meet Neytiri, the female love interest, until 38 minutes into the movie.
Well, because the thing I did not remember about this movie at all is it starts on Earth. We see future Earth.
Yes.
Gone. It completely wiped from my brain. And I don't think we should have it in the movie at all. I don't think it's necessary. We don't care. It doesn't matter.
The problem with the opening, and this was one of my big points, is it's 7 minutes of just exposition.
Yeah.
They're just setting up the world.
And it's all exposition that we get later just intrinsically in the movie.
Right.
Like, there's a moment when, I literally just had to look down on my piece of paper to remember his name, when Jake Sully shows up on Eternia, or whatever the planet
Pandora.
is. Thank you. Pandora. When he shows up on Spotify, he like gets there and they're like, oh man, you really do just like your twin brother who's dead. And it's like, great, so why did we need to have that whole 5 to 10 minute scene seeing it happen? You were just going to tell us about it later.
Yes.
I don't think we need Earth at all. I think we can literally start with him landing on Pandora.
Right.
It's much faster.
Boom,
I think minutes,
James
go
Cameron.
on.
What I feel like it is because the opening shot is you see Earth, but then you see the spaceship they're on.
Yeah.
And I think James Cameron wanted
to show the spaceship.
He wanted his Star Wars moment. That's how all the Star Wars movies open, is the spaceship scene coming towards the camera.
But it didn't open with... Did it open with the spaceship?
I think it opened with it. Yeah, because we saw the spaceship first, because then he comes out of cryo.
Out of hypersleep or whatever, yeah.
And then you see Earth in the flashback,
right.
And then you see them burn his brother's body, because,
that's
why
right.
not?
I mean, it makes sense if James Cameron has the ego to think he's making his Star Wars. Which
yes.
he is, but that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
We should start on Pandora.
Let's start on Pandora.
Yeah, because we don't need any of that.
I do want to applaud your Spotify joke. I did appreciate it. I didn't audibly laugh, but internally, that was good.
It's all right. Didn't necessarily
I had a good
need to
chuckle.
Be good, I'm glad. But other than that, there aren't that many characters in this movie that are important. Like, basically, all of the characters with more than one speaking line, I counted, and I recast all of them, and there's 11.
Yes.
And that's not that many for a 2-hour, 45-minute movie.
Well, I agree, but I think they introduced them so fast that I don't remember anyone.
Correct.
Like, I remember Jake, I remember Natiri, and I remember Grace.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it.
Same. Like, I also just remember those three. Like, there's that moment when... Who's his face? Norm Spellman shows up.
Greatest name character.
And he's like, oh man, I'm an expert. I know all about these mountains and whatever. And I'm like, oh, so this is the guy that's going to die. And he's the one person that doesn't.
Exactly.
He's literally, like, he's the best friend trope who's like, oh man, you lovable person who's jealous, you're going to sacrifice yourself and it's going to be super sad. No, he's literally the only person that lives. With the exception of, like, Natiri.
And the scientist, who just wasn't there.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Max Patel.
Yes.
And so I thought that was very funny, but it was also... So basically, these two show up on the same spaceship to a whole world of other avatars and people and... who's her face who plays the...
Sigourney Weaver.
Thank you. And Sigourney Weaver science stuff going on. And then it's just Sigourney Weaver and these two. Everyone else who's in the Avatar program, who's at the beginning playing basketball and being in their Avatar bodies... They're there, and they're at the very end when we're watching the military guys get marched off planet.
Right.
They're just... The rest of them just aren't in this movie.
Which I wanted... That's one of the rewrites I want to do.
Good, tell me about it.
I think there's a big... If you guys haven't seen the movie, it's too much for us to do a synopsis. There's a moment in the middle. This movie was such a cultural touchstone that everyone kind of has a sense of like, oh yeah, Pocahontas dances with wolves, but in space. You get it. Mm-hmm. Moving on. Go on. Yes. Jake's purpose for being there is his purpose A with Grace is to just kind of be a scientist because they spent so much money on the Avatar body for his brother. Mm-hmm. The B story for him is kind of in background. He's working with the military side of the expedition to convince the natives to move off of Home Tree because there's a big plot of unobtainium, which we're going to get into that too, because we have to rename that. I don't care what the name is, but it has to be anything else.
It literally doesn't matter what the name is, but it can't be that name.
Right.
It's just the fucking titanium. It doesn't matter.
Anything else. And so he fails, and the military comes in and just blows up Home Tree.
Yep.
And it's a very hard stop. Mm-hmm. Home Tree's blown up. I think they should have used the other avatars, or had like the military people kind of take over the other avatars. And as Jake is introducing the Sky People to the what is the name of the clan? I practiced saying this so I wouldn't look stupid right here in this moment. The Na'vi.
Sure.
I forgot what the tribe is called. As they're like reintroducing them to their people, have the like other now military avatars sneaking things in, having bombs set up around the tree, doing something where it's like not only does it hurt the Na'vi, but they like can specifically pin it on Jake. Good. Like, this is Jake's fault.
Great. I love that because it's a really good mirror to what I also have planned. Mm-hmm. Which we'll get to in a second. My other pitch for them was going to be that a lot of the people who are in this program either die / are killed, or go native. And like they're like, this is a better way to live, and they like end up like their human body ends up withering away to nothing because they spend all their time living as a Na'vi, to the point where they eventually also die just because they weren't taking care of their human body, because it was so much worse being human when they could be this Na'vi and like living this like the other way.
Yeah, the Umetakai. That was the name that I couldn't think of.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so I just as a way to like kind of be like, we're just constantly having to bring in new people because for whatever reason, just this whole process it's very taxing on the mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I made a couple of notes that there are a couple of things that I wanted to do for just kind of like this whole thing, because it's Dances with Wolves in space, but I don't think it takes advantage of that as much as it could be. Like, it's a very cool world, but it's still a forest. And there's still an indigenous First Nation population riding horses into battle.
Yes.
Like, they get to ride their cool sky dragons, but that's kind of the only alien thing. And even then, it's still pretty human.
It's also hilarious that they have special names for everything except the horses. The Na'vi still call them horses.
Do they actually?
Yeah, I googled it, and on the Pandora wiki, they are called dire horses.
Great.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's just stellar. So one of the things I wanted to start with was kind of the way the aliens worked.
Good. Are you talking about the tentacle?
Like the
braid?
The braid? Yeah. That's dumb and I don't want it.
I have a whole multi-paragraphs written about the biology of Pandora, the biology of the Na'vi, and how nothing makes sense.
Great. Tell me about that, and then I'm going to tell you my pitch for how to change it.
Okay. So what the initial part that doesn't make sense is the only two animals. We see 4 animals in this movie. We see like kind of 5 or 6 in the background, but 4 central areas. There's the kind of rhinoceros thing. There's the panther thing, which is called a tantor. There's the dire horses, and there's the ekrons.
And then there's the big...
a tuduk.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, the shadow, the last shadow.
Yep.
They have a point of they connect their braided tentacle thing to the braid of the animal to kind of have this mental link with them so they can pass commands on.
Right.
Of those 4 animals, only 2 of them have the braids. And not only do they have one braid, they both have 2 braids.
Mm-hmm.
They both have, like, I assume, symmetry.
A left and a right?
Yes. Why does an animal, the ekrons, the banshees, why, when they have a ample conversation about you bond with one and only one is with you for life?
When it has
2 braids!
When it has two access ports.
Yes. It doesn't make sense. Also, why is it on the head for both creatures when it should be on the waist? It should be on the tail, in my opinion. It should wrap around a la Namekian style.
Yeah, I was gonna say like when they're doing this fight, and at the very end, Colonel Miles Kortic is holding Jake up by his ponytail. I'm like, oh, they finally found the Saiyan's tail. I literally said that out loud.
Yes.
Yeah, because also, I imagine getting that cut off would be a real big problem.
Right. Ooh, and also, like, in my mind, I'm a very clumsy person. There's a long braid that's just out from me connected to an animal in a forest.
That is not prehensile. Like the tail is.
It's going to get caught on something.
Yes.
Immediately.
And
it's going to hurt.
You're walking through branches all the time.
Yeah. You're riding fast.
Yes.
It's going to hurt.
Yeah, that's true too.
If it's at the waist where it should be, then it's like a much shorter connection. It's almost seatbelt-like.
Well, as it is, it goes from your head to the tentacle thing of the head in front of you. If it jerks its head one way, you get pulled off.
Right. And so this was the dumb... I'm not a biologist. I'm an artist.
Great.
But this is my thinking for it. Is like... The reason it's so close to the head, in my opinion, is so it can send the relays faster to the other animal. But you don't need it to be faster than you're sending it to the rest of the body. Mm-hmm. So, like, what's the point of it being sent out, milliseconds faster to the animal than it is to your legs, when you're also controlling it with your legs? Mm-hmm. So that doesn't make sense. What it should be is an output port on the tail and like a matrix-style input port on the head.
Got it. So that way it's a full loop instead of... So that way it has 2 tentacles, so one is input, one's output?
Well, I think the only input you need, because you also see this when they're trying to revive Grace, is when they're at the Tree of Souls, the tentacles go through her nape. They go through her neck. They don't go to the tentacle, even the Avatar version. Yeah. So, like, the only place you need and they're all, like, all the trees are tentacle-esque in their own right.
They're all soul trees.
Yes. So, like...
Do-do-do-do-do-do. Sorry.
all the like import stuff, like the memories and stuff, you're only getting from the trees. So just plug that into your head and you're good.
Cool.
What is your pitch?
I agree mostly with everything you're saying.
Okay.
I think the necessity of the input port, especially when so much of what we're doing is switching to wireless, I think renders that useless. I think the ponytails are very interesting.
What about
aesthetic.
when 5G comes to
Basically.
Pandora?
Well, like even when Jake's avatar is in the pod, it's completely naked, but the hair is still braided. Like I think those are weird, and I think we can do better. So part of what bothered me about it is that it felt very human. It felt like a human with an extension cord. And I wanted, especially if we're going to be on an alien world, I think it needed to be something so inherently different to the human experience. And plugging your tail cord into something is not inherently separate to the human experience necessarily. I was going to make a really bad joke, but I'm going to not make that joke. This isn't a great example because I think the author who wrote this is just a piece of garbage, but I think the book did a good job of this.
Okay.
Did you ever read like any of the Ender's Game series of books?
I have read the Ender's Game. So I've read the first one.
So you've read Ender's Game. So the sequel is called Speaker for the Dead.
Got it.
And it's Ender all grown up living on an alien world. So, and you have not read that.
I've not. I also need to clarify because if Chris listens, Chris, I have read this one.
Chris doesn't listen to this.
I didn't think so.
Prove me wrong, Chris. He might. I don't know. If you're on it, I'm sure he will. Because that'd be a good friend, and he'll tell us about it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
We can ask.
We'll find out. So basically, in Speaker for the Dead, and Orson Scott Card's a bad person, but the book basically live in this alien world where there are... I don't remember the names of any of the aliens. If I'd been smart, I would have looked it up. But there's basically 3 or 4 different species. And when that species dies... like the sentient creatures kind of become like all of the trees on this planet used to be the sentient alien species, and like even the trees are still sentient, but it's like when the creature dies, it has a plant in it, and that plant grows and becomes this tree. The snakes become like the vines, and like the worms in the dirt become the grass, and it is a literal 1-for-1 of something so separate from our experience because a human doesn't, like, when a human dies, it's just dead. But when these creatures die, they become this tree. And so I wanted to come up with something that was very, very, very alien. But obviously I'm able to come up with it, so it's not something beyond our realm of experience. But it's something that we could kind of understand. And to tell you where I kind of got my inspiration for this, you'll appreciate, because my inspiration for this is Raven from Teen Titans.
Sick.
So basically, what I think we need is I want to lose the ponytail, and I kind of want to play around with the idea of the soul trees, because I want something that Neytiri says to be along the lines of, we make these connections because we share a part of our soul with them. If it's a small, weak-willed creature, it doesn't take much, and we're able to kind of share that and then bring it back, and like with a little mouse running around. Mm-hmm. But with the horses, we have to give a little bit more of ourselves, and the more willpower and the more spirit that the creature we're trying to bond with has, the more of our own soul it takes. And that's why it's so difficult that's why no one's ever able to bond with the shadow Taduk, because it has more spirit than we do, and it would then, like, its spirit would consume ours. And so I steal this from Raven from Teen Titans because she talks about how she is able to use her magic and take control of things because she puts a little bit of her soul in everything she controls. And I thought in this world that made sense. And then when they die, their spirit can leave them and join the tree of ancestors, the spirit tree. And that way, death isn't even the end. And because the only person that mentions Neytiri's sister in this entire movie is Sigourney Weaver. Not Neytiri, not Neytiri's parents. Just Sigourney Weaver. Right. And so that struck me as like, for them, she's not really gone because they're able to communicate with her spirit in this tree. So let's make that subtext text and say when they die, if they die an honorable death and they're able to be laid to rest near this tree, their spirit is able to just rejoin the Allspark or whatever and like be the collective of the tribe. Mm-hmm. And that's why the idea of destroying this tree is so abhorrent, because you're literally snuffing out all the ancestors. Right. And they're just gone. Like that way, and then death would become permanent, which is terrifying. And like the option of becoming like the home tree or the spirit tree, and like the people who die sick and they weren't able to get there, they become part of this other tree. So I feel like one of them needs to be taken out, but not like the important one.
Right.
But that was kind of my replacement for the ponytails, because it's an interesting aesthetic choice, but largely I feel like it's a hindrance. It's silly. It's super easy to make fun of. And I feel like it hides the metaphor that you actually could be going for. Because instead it's just, well, I plug into the horse and then I can ride it. And I feel like this way I'm able to, like, I give of myself into this horse. And I also think that way you get the moment, you can even get the moment of one of them tries to take over Tanook or tries to take over one of the dragon birds and loses themselves in it. And so now they're just an empty husk without a soul. And it's
okay.
And I feel like here are consequences. Like, this is, oh, well, you die. Cool. We know that's not going to happen. But you can literally see what would happen if they lose all of themselves in this process. Of they give all, like, they lose control, and they lose all of their spirit, all their soul into the creature, and the creature goes off. And like, even that can matter, because in my mind, I don't think Jake Sully should be their messiah.
I agree.
I think Neytiri should be.
Absolutely.
And I have justification for that later. But in terms of just like the way they bond with the animals and the spirits, and the way like that whole world lives together as a continuum of souls, how do you feel about that pitch? What other ways do you want to play with that idea, if that's an idea you even like?
No, I fully dig that idea, because when they're doing the Ikran ceremony where they're getting their dragon piece,
yes,
you see there's two other like teens with them that are also going through the ritual,
which we never see.
Right. I wish like we would have seen the dangers of it first. Because obviously scary.
Yeah, let's see one of the mountains.
Yeah, you're on top of the floating mountains.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that would be awesome if you got to see one of the kids like who couldn't do it, and now there's so much more stake to Jake, who like isn't supposed to be there in the first place. Like, he's just supposed to be a spy.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Then great.
Yeah. Well, because then also like they make such a big deal of like Jake has a line where like the I just forgot the name again. Oh my god, the Na'vi people. He has a line of like everyone in the tribe is born twice. The second time is when you finish the Ikran ceremony and you become one of the people. Mm-hmm. And that, like, with how you're pitching it, that makes so much more sense. Of like, now you are part of the communal spirit because you have passed this test. You have shared yourself with the forest, and now you are part of the forest.
And they can even make a point that none of the sky people Na'vi are really ever able to do it. They're never really able to give of themselves like a part of their soul in order to truly bond with these creatures. Like, they can ride one of the dire horses, but it's not a true bond until Jake like actually is like, oh, okay, and is able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he should be the Messiah.
No.
So I think the movie as it exists now has two messiahs. I think there's the Messiah who takes it, and then the Messiah who it is offered to her. In the movie as we have it now, the tree is attacked and all of the Na'vi completely lose their trust in Jake. And the only way he can get their trust back is to become their Messiah. Like, oh, well, you're not going to trust me anymore? I'll make you trust me. And then he, like, hijacks the Tanook and becomes the Tanook rider.
Tanook Maktal, yes.
Yes. And I'm never going to get that.
So. No, that's fine.
Okay,
I've planned for this part.
Good. And so, like he's very sneaky, and he uses precision, and he strikes, and he does it, and he gets the job done, and that's great. But I kind of think that makes him a false Messiah. Because he kind of just, like, plugged himself in and took control. Whereas, at no point in the movie do they ever talk about someone riding the Panther thing.
Well, because there's no port. That's part of my problem.
Right. But the Panther offers itself to Neytiri.
Right.
Which means that it is choosing her. And I feel like that's much more powerful. Of, like, you are the one who is chosen, who should be able to do this. It wasn't taken by force. It is offered freely. And so the movie as it exists now, I think has Jake who takes the messiahship and Neytiri who it is offered to. And so I think in our version of this movie, I think Jake needs to try to be the Messiah and fail, but in order to save him, Neytiri must become the true Messiah.
I fully dig that.
Okay.
There's another aspect of the forest that I want to bring up. I think it might be a little counterintuitive to what you just pitched, but I want to throw it out there anyway. I think the forest needs to be a character in itself.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
Because at the very end, the forest is what saves the day.
I think the forest needs to be like the swamp from Avatar. Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be a conscious, living thing, all kind of connected in a single living organism. But yes, continue.
Right. And so the first time we see the Forest as a character is when Neytiri is about to shoot Jake, and kind of a spore from the spirit tree comes and kind of blocks her vision for a second.
Yeah, it lands on her arrow.
Yes. And then all the spores come and kind of surround Jake as Neytiri is talking to him.
Yeah, it's basically like the grandmother Willow from Pocahontas going, "This one's special."
Yeah. Look out for this one, hun.
Yeah, basically.
I think instead of having the very obvious stuff, have the Forest like be the thing that's keeping Jake alive.
Yeah.
Like when you first see him like being very clumsy and not understanding how to kind of move in this world, and he falls off a beam. Don't have Neytiri catch him. Have like a leaf just suddenly be there.
Yeah.
And it kind of slows his descent. He still falls, but it's a much softer fall.
Yeah.
And kind of all these events keep happening until you realize it's the Forest that is keeping him alive. Like the Forest needs him to be alive for this final battle they know is going to happen.
Good. I completely agree with that. I think that's, yeah, absolutely. Good.
Yeah, because also you never see the spores again.
They're around. They bury one of them with that dead dude.
That's true. I did forget. Yes,
they're occasionally around in like when Neytiri's mom does stuff. By the way, does Neytiri need to be related to both leaders of the tribe, or can she just be a member of the tribe also? Because my only problem is that if we then make Neytiri the chosen one, then it's just like, well, she's the special. Mm-hmm. She's the magical princess who is always destined for greatness. I'd rather she just be a member of the tribe.
Well, I wonder if that is more like native related to like actual Native American history. Like I don't know if it's always been the way before of like shaman being married to the chief.
Oh yeah. That doesn't bother me. I just care that it's that
she's the princess.
That it's not narcissism, nepotism.
Yes.
And I don't think nepotism is necessary. I think it's more powerful if it's not the princess of the tribe finds this outsider and it's Beauty and the Beast.
What I think is, to that point, what I think is interesting
where human is the beast, which I find funny.
Because we are.
Yes.
She is not being raised to be the next chief, though. She's raised to be the next shaman.
Right.
And Sute is raised to be the next chief.
Yeah. It's still very gendered, which
yes.
we don't need. I don't care about that at all.
Yeah, take your gender norms off Pandora.
Yeah, like why should Earth gender norms exist here in space?
Right.
I think we should get rid of the nepotism. I think we should get rid of the gender norms.
We also see that she is pretty much the best hunter and the best shot.
She's also the only one we see, so it doesn't matter.
That's true.
Because we see
Sute
take down one of the rhino things by shooting it in its gill.
Yeah.
And then Jake is like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then he does the same thing. I guess.
Yeah, I can go into this forever. I think I wish we got to see Sute and Jake go at it.
I agree.
Because I wanted to see native versus like military tactics.
Yes, because I think that's important.
Yes.
And I think that's hugely important because I feel like the tactics at the end during the final battle are garbage.
Right.
When I was watching the final battle, when they have this whole fleet of airships in the sky and then a bunch of things on the ground, literally the Na'vi force attacks every single thing except the one that mattered.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that having a battle between Jake and Sute would be important because we would have to see why both of those strategies, what works about them and what fails about them. So that way at the final battle, they can do a melding of those strategies and they can like put up a smokescreen, think we're attacking everybody, and literally they're just going after the one that matters.
Right.
Which is like the big ship.
Yeah. He's a Marine. He, if I remember...
should have tactics.
Well, if I remember my branch of the military correctly, he shouldn't know air tactics, though. That should be fully Sute.
That's true, too.
He should be the one on the ground.
Right, but also, why are any of them on the ground? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because they know that, literally they know, Dr. Max Patel tells him that they are going to drop a bomb on the Sacred Grove. The dudes on the ground don't matter. All they need to do is just just stop the big ship, and then the other ships have rockets and things, you can take them out later. Take out the bomb, and then everything else will follow.
Yeah, the big one in the middle.
Yeah, which is the one none of the
Sute
everything
does.
else goes around.
Sute tries, because he takes out all of everyone except one of the guys kind of protecting the bombs.
I didn't even realize that was on the big ship. I just thought that was on one of the other random ships.
It was not very clear.
Okay, but yes, you're right. Sute did. Because Sute, his strategy should have been employed here. Sute should have been a bigger character.
He should have.
And he shouldn't have just been the jealous ex stereotype. Because that's boring. He should be distrustful of Jake because Sute had been dating Neytiri's sister and watched her get gunned down in front of him.
Yeah.
Which is textually in the movie, and she's never brought up.
I'm fine with him being the high school bully. Like, I'm totally cool with him, like, Jake is learning how to ride the dire horse, and
he trips the dire
comes
horse.
and he just hits it on the back, and the dire horse starts running, and Jake, falls off.
Yeah, I'm cool with that, too, and he can say, you gotta be prepared.
Yeah. I'm fine with him being a dick.
Okay, great.
But yeah, he does need to be more present.
Yes. He needs to be...
we need to see why he's next in line for chief.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, other than just being the toughest one, which, again, is very human.
Yeah.
And that annoys me.
We don't see, if I remember correctly, we don't see why Grace was exiled from the Ometekai.
I think she was exiled because she's human. And it's just this thing happened, this thing happened in the door of her school. And so they associate her with the school.
Okay. That makes sense.
I don't remember Neytiri's sister's name, but it was Neytiri and Sute who went and lit some of the tractors on fire, or some of the mining equipment on fire, and then the military tracked them down and shot them in the school.
Okay.
Which is, Sigourney Weaver was telling that story, and it was like, wow, this really, was a huge deal for you. No one ever, other people, it should be, this sounds like it was just a big deal in general. Especially for her to die this way, and let's say for her soul not, because she was killed, and there was never a possibility for her soul to be able to join the tree, so she's just gone. And I feel like that would be, a real, scar on a people.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
So it should be more present, and that's another good reason, we trusted you, we thought you would protect us, you didn't, now she's just gone.
Okay. Yes, that makes a lot more sense. Because with the initial thing that I pitched of having the military come in, there's obviously a lot of parallels between the Na'vi and Native American tribes when white people came.
First Nation tribes anywhere.
Yes.
Because it's also the Aboriginal tribes in Australia, literally everywhere. All of the native Mexican people.
Yeah, there's a very literal Trail of Tears reference. Yeah. Which I think this is a PG-13 movie. You can push into these kind of darker things. One thing I either wanted it in a past tense thing, or if we go along with the idea of military taking over, bring in the really shitty underhanded tactics that we did to Native Americans. Which is
promise them something, they agree to it, and then lie.
Oh no, I was thinking more of just the blankets.
Oh, you were thinking smallpox?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be disease, but have sneak something in that is disastrous to the people.
I mean, that could even be the thing that takes down the school of they hide bad things in the books. Fine, we will agree, we will provide books so you can learn and be educated, if that's something you want, but then they put some sort of plant killer in the books, and it just starts hurting the forest. And no one realizes what's going on.
Yeah, weed be gone.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, okay, I agree with that. I absolutely 100% agree with that.
Yeah. This is a much smaller note, but it's something that I wish we got to see. I wanted the Fern Gully moment, because no one talks about Fern Gully. This is also a ripoff of Fern Gully.
Yes.
To an extreme point. I want the moment, because we only ever see in the opening shot, I want the moment where Jake sees the destruction that's happening to the rest of the planet. Because we're only ever in the beautiful green forest. Where has the mining stopped?
Yeah.
I want Jake to have this great time, either running through the forest or on his Ikran.
And then we need to see the quarry.
Yes, that's exactly what I want to see. Is I want him to fly over and the forest is just gone, and it's the Lord of the Rings moment where it's just acres of nothing.
Yes, I agree. We do need that. Good. Yes, I think that is important, and I think because at this point Jake is I'm a snarky jerk who never shuts my mouth. I think there needs to be something that is so sobering that's okay, I kind of understand why what we're doing is a problem. Because he needs to be on the military side until he's not. There needs to be something that shakes that faith.
It's not sex.
And it has to not be sex.
especially weird tentacle sex.
Weird tentacle sex. Agreed. Yeah,
cut
absolutely.
it. Just cut it fully.
Yeah, like just let them.
James, what are you doing?
and then Sigourney Weaver just goes, "Oh fuck."
It's like that's not how I thought it worked.
Yeah. All right. Like the moment from the episode of Futurama.
Hold on. Which episode?
Where they discover the lost city of Atlanta.
Mermaids. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, what? I don't understand. What's that? Well, what I do is I lay my eggs and leave the room, and then you spray your fertilizer. It's like, why couldn't she have been one of the other kind of fish people with the fish part on the top and the lady part on the bottom?
Oh, Fry. you delightful idiot.
Yeah. But yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, he's in an avatar, so that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this is just for me. It's weird to me that they name the movie after, like, kind of the functionality of the technology they're using. Like, I feel like Avatar's he's in an avatar. Fine. I feel like Pandora or Na'vi or whatever would have been a more interesting. Like, even like, just naming it the movie, obviously before the music service took off, Pandora, I think, would have been a better name for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think naming it Avatar, aside from the fact that I love the cartoon, I also just think it's the wrong name.
I'm kind of torn on this because I think the idea of the movie is misunderstanding dreams versus reality.
Okay.
And that is kind of Jake's through line, is
Yeah.
not being able to tell which one is real.
Okay.
And I think Avatar connects to that better than kind of any other word we can think of, except maybe like Inception.
All right, fair enough. All right, I'll give that to you. Mm-hmm. One of the other things this movie does, and I feel like we need to hang a lantern on it, is very phobic of disabled people. And it's like, oh man, my life is over as soon as I got disabled. When I ended up in this wheelchair, everything was bad. And I don't think that's a good message, because I think there are a lot of people in wheelchairs who live very full life. I think there are a lot of people in wheelchairs who wish they weren't. But there are a lot of disabled people of all kinds of disability who lead full, active, and love their life just the way it is. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like part of me wanted to have Jake's avatar also be disabled, but I don't think that would work in the movie. And the visual distinction of him going from a wheelchair and all of a sudden being able to stand again, I think does kind of work. But I feel like in the final battle, I think he needs... Like, if you want to have the kind of bookends, I think he needs to be disabled again, and I think he needs to, like, embrace this is who he is, and embrace that there's nothing wrong with someone who is disabled. Or at least get away from the message of disabled equals bad, worthless.
Well, so I'm also split on this concept, because there's a moment, the first time Jake wakes from his avatar body, mm-hmm. Back into his human body. So we just finished the running around through the training grounds, and you see Sigourney Weaver, and they go to bed. And you see him, like, sit up, bolt up from the seat, and he immediately looks at his feet.
Yeah. And
realizes that he can't move them anymore.
Right.
Because I think, like, having something every time you wake back up to be gone again, like, you just can't ever get rid of that pain.
Yeah. Okay.
But at the same time, I agree that I think there is kind of an ableist aspect to this movie.
That's the word I was trying to think of. Thank you.
He's never slowed down by his wheelchair in any aspect. And the part that I thought was funny at first, but then I'm like, no, it makes sense, is when they escape prison and they're running down the hall, he's out wheeling Norm and Grace,
yeah,
and also holding a gun while he's in full military mode still.
Yeah.
Like, nothing is slowing him down.
Yeah, I agree. Like that. Yes, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, so he's pained by the wheelchair, but nothing about the wheelchair has ever made him miss a beat. Like, he never lets anyone help him in and out of the rig. You never see anyone pushing him in the wheelchair. Like, he's as independent as he possibly can be still. That's
true. And I think that is good. I think you're right. I think if we just get rid of, like, the ableist mentality...
We also still have 4 movies where we have a chance to lose the legs.
My God. But yes, you're right. Okay, you're right. I'll give that to you. I think you are correct. If you are having military people take over these other people's avatars... I think we can also go in the other direction of when the attack is happening. If we're doing kind of the Raven from Teen Titans-esque soul bonding, I think you can take this in another direction of having Na'vi taking control of human bodies because their own spirit is overpowering the spirit of the people whose just hearts really aren't in doing this.
Yeah, I'm so down for that, because I was thinking of Winter Soldier, where it's like, why is everyone on board with this minus Michelle Rodriguez,
right?
Trudy, but like everyone in headquarters is also cool with this.
And
like, have someone on the inside still besides the scientists.
They try to have it both ways. Like, they have Michelle Rodriguez and the Max Patel, like, this is bad, just full stop. But then they have the CEO guy, Parker Selfridge, which sounds a lot like Parker Selfish, which is dumb. It's a bad name. But basically, they have this thing where he's like, oh yeah, that guy will move, keep bulldozing. And they have that guy be a jerk the whole time. And then when the attack is finally happening, he looks sad and forlorn in the camera. It's like, no, you don't get to have both. We don't get to feel bad for you for getting kicked off the planet. And we don't get to think that you might be having second doubts. All this is happening and it's your fault.
Yeah, so that conversation point, too, is another thing. Like, it's a very, very small note. And it's just like, if I were a producer in the room, I'd be like, hey, we can combine these two scenes. Because they have the conversation where it's Grace, Colonel, and Jake, and Parker all talking together. And then Grace and Jake leave. And then there's a scene cut to a separate conversation between the Colonel and Parker, where then they do the, like, you know, we can just bulldoze the tree. And that's when he goes like, oh man, he's like, we'll keep he says tactics, or we'll keep
no, he says that would be a PR nightmare.
Yeah.
How? There's no reporters here.
Right.
So I feel like either it's got to actually be a PR nightmare, or he's like, no, I took this job because like I'm genuinely interested in this other culture.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I am beholden to shareholders or whatever.
Yeah.
And so like we can have this guy who's being pulled two ways and he makes the wrong choice. But also, it was wild to me that we have discovered an alien world. And unless we've discovered many alien worlds by this point, and we've discovered literal aliens, there was that Sigourney Weaver is like the only scientist, and there isn't like everyone on Earth just fascinated and wants to know everything about the aliens. Because right now, if we discovered an alien planet, that's all anyone on Earth would be able to talk about for a long time.
Well, they have to be there for a while, too, because it's 6 years there. I assume it's also 6 years back. She has a book out on Earth.
It sure seemed like it was a 6-year assignment. Like,
okay.
Round trip, you leave Earth, you won't be back to Earth for another 6 years.
Okay. Well, no, because they make a point in the very opening.
They do. You sleep for 6 years or something like that, or gone for 6 years. But then over the course of the movie, they use 6 years to talk about different things like that. And if it is 6 years there, 6 years back, she's not old enough to have done that, written a book, gotten it back for it to become popular, and for other people to have devoted their lives to that. Yeah.
Right.
The timetable doesn't really work.
Okay, well, we'll say it's a year, just to make it simple.
Yeah. Trip is a year. You spend 4 years there, and then it takes a year to get back.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes so much more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because she has her book, the Grace Augustine Navi book,
right,
which Norm has read,
right,
and has also spent 500 hours piloting this before even leaving.
Yeah.
So he's done ample work getting to his point,
correct,
which is the side character who disappears.
Yes, who should have died and then somehow doesn't, and it's weird.
Mm-hmm. And we also see, and I think this is interesting, because it's a question I have every time I watch the movie, I always forget this, is Norm's avatar gets shot while he's in it,
yeah,
and he still wakes up fine. Like, he wakes up hyperventilating.
Yeah.
But his human body is still fine.
Yeah. Which happens for all of them. Like, the damage doesn't transfer over.
Mm-hmm.
It feels more like his avatar passed out, then his human body woke up.
Yeah.
Like, probably passed out from the pain, and then because one of them went to sleep, the other one woke up.
I think there should, especially if we're going with the spirit bond concept, I think damage should be more transferable. Especially if, like, you're riding the horse and the horse gets hurt, it should also hurt you.
I agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. It should be like Matrix.
Yeah.
If you're hurt there, this is your spirit, your soul. Like, you believe you are hurt, and if you believe you are hurt, you are hurt.
Yeah, on Pandora, there are two realms. There's a physical realm and the spirit realm.
Yes.
Not like Avatar. It's not like Avatar.
Not like Avatar at all.
Not like Avatar at all.
No. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, not like that. Don't, there's no lion turtles.
No. Oh, I wish there were lion turtles.
I mean, they would fit into this world so well.
They would. We still have 4 movies. We still have a chance.
So much time. The important thing is that we will have platypus bears. Anyway, continue.
Yeah.
And an armadillo bear.
Yeah. But it's just a bear.
Weird.
You mean a platypus bear? It just says bear.
Weird.
This place is weird.
What haven't we covered?
I understand why. There's two aspects of the characters that I kind of want to see more of, but I understand for time restraints why we didn't see them. If this were pitched as like a series, which I think it would be so much better as, I want Jake to be closer to the military guys at the beginning, and so there's almost 3 groups that he's jumping between. Because we only ever see him talking to the colonel. Mm-hmm. We only ever see him talking to Norm and Grace. And then we see him talking to Natiri and Sute and Mowat.
Yes, I 100% agree with this. I think he needs to... I think it needs to be a 3-act progression. Military, scientist, Na'vi.
Yeah. Like, I understand why he jumped in the Na'vi so quick, and I'm glad he did, because, like, the scenery shots of this movie are incredible. They're
absolutely
stunning.
Yes. But obviously the Na'vi shouldn't trust him right away, and he's like kind of slowly earning that trust. And the only reason they do is because the forest seems to like him. Yeah,
because Moa, I mean, she is the spiritual guide.
Yes.
She gave him the thumbs up, but I agree. No one should be that trusting.
Yes.
Everyone should still, and like Sute shouldn't be trusting until the very end.
Right, I agree with that.
Until he dies.
Basically, yeah. He like true Flash Thompson style, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right. But other than that, what else do we need to talk about for the actual core structure of the movie itself? Because I think we've kind of covered everything. Mm-hmm. And anything we haven't covered is fine. Leave it the way it is.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not going to stitch back together everything we have. That's the job for the actual writer we hire.
Right. Because this is 2 hours and 41 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be that long. We already cut 25 minutes by getting rid of Earth.
What I forgot is, like, when Home Tree falls, I checked the time. There is an hour left
in the movie
after Home Tree falls. I'm like, what else happens?
Like, he gets kicked out, so he needs to become the Messiah, and then they need to go get the other tribes. And I'm like, I get it, but at that point,
so that was the other thing.
That needs to be that is your all is lost moment. Home Tree falling is all is lost.
Right.
You don't get to have another one later.
Yeah, because then they do the Trail of Tears.
Yeah.
But that was the other thing, is like, if we have time, which we don't, if it's a series we do, you see the other military brats, and kind of they're all assholes, but Jake is like, these are my people, these are my brothers.
Yeah.
But then also I want to see the other tribes. I want to see in-tribe fighting. For like, we see that the human, or on like the human side, there's infighting between the scientists and the military guys, but also that like not everything is perfect for the Na'vi either.
I absolutely agree. Mm-hmm. That's why there are multiple tribes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there would just be one big tribe.
Which also makes me question: are there multiple soul trees?
Oh, I think
because I assume every tribe would have one.
When they went and visited all the other tribes were around some sort of home tree,
yes, but
not necessarily some sort of soul. Yes, I would think so as well. Mm-hmm. But for this tribe of Na'vi, this is like it's where the souls of their ancestors live.
Yes. Because then, like, my question, which is the stupid question because it would cost money, is like, why don't they just move to a different part of Pandora? Because it's a big planet.
It is, but a tree can't move.
No, I mean the humans.
Right. Oh, yeah. And it's because the unobtainium is under this
I know, and it's... When do we want to read in unobtainium?
Well, we're about to get into recasting now.
Okay.
Because that's why I'm getting to that. But basically, I think the core structure of our movie, like, we stitch everything together we talked about. I think we do have what we want our new movie to be. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm happy with that, and I'm ready to talk about casting. So unless there's something else you wanted to talk about, like structure or plot.
I think the last thing is the scenes that I kind of really want to keep. I'll just go super quick. When Jake first is in the Avatar body and he's running through the grass for the first time, that is beautiful. Agreed. It makes me emotional every time.
Good. I love it.
Jake on the Yukon for the first time. Again, beautiful. Climb the Hawaiian Mountains. It's gorgeous.
Right. We have to give it more stakes, but yes.
Yes. And then the Na'vi montage where he's going around learning about the people.
Yeah.
That is... And all 3 of them, I love the score of this movie. It's the first score I ever downloaded of a film. And I'd sit in my theater commons in high school with the lights off, and I'd play it at full volume. Just be amazing. My super emotional high school self. And yeah.
Good. You just have to let me feel things.
Yeah, just let me feel through Avatar.
Good. Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay, great. Now I'm ready for casting.
Good.
Hey, I'm Chris.
And I'm Cameron, and we love Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and all the DC comic characters.
And we think you might too.
Or at least just Batman.
And like us, maybe you also yearn for a time when Superman wasn't so broody and Batman wasn't a mass murderer.
So join us as we revisit Bruce Timm's classic DC animated universe that started up with Batman the Animated Series and runs through Superman, Justice League, and so much more.
We talked about comic origins, inspirations of the films, character psychology, and why this is the definitive DC Comics adaptation. So check out Timm Talk on the Nerd School Network, subscribe on iTunes, and listen to our latest episode every Tuesday.
So let's start with Unobtainium before we even get to cast.
Good. The most important rename.
Like, I don't... Like, it can literally be... I mean, we can't call it Pandemanium.
Pandorium.
Pandorium's the obvious one, but, like, something like that is fine. Like, name it after the planet.
Even just name it like its chemical structure.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
if
that's
it's
boring. But
yeah,
yes. But
NH12.
I think they don't like naming it after its chemical structure because then that has real world implications. Where if you just say, "Oh, it's unobtainium, it's really good and valuable." Well, what's it made out of? Oh,
Yeah, rock.
yeah. Like you can't actually tell us what it is because then science would be like, "Oh no, that wouldn't be anything." You have to say it's something, and that way we've never conceived of it before.
That's fair. Yeah.
So, Pandemanium, Pandorium.
Pandorium. It's just as bad, but it's
better
a
than
little better.
unobtainium.
Yeah.
Like it. I mean, you could even just call it red titanium. Like it's titanium, but it functions differently, and we don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's the whole new within the last 10, 15 years or something of like you have these super single atom layers of graphite, and it's called graphene, and it's like the most powerful conductor. Like something that we are familiar with, but then just like altered slightly in a new way, something like that. But like, what's a super useful element?
Carbon.
That's not useful. That's omnipresent.
Yes. Okay.
But it could be like silicon or even silver is super useful. Like we could.
Or
even...
what if it's just like super? Because they make a comment about Earth. Like we killed our mother on Earth.
Yeah.
What if it's just some kind of like super dense version of oxygen? And like,
Oh.
or like even like
And-
it's a different form of water we've never seen, and like that is the fight on Earth. It's just getting the base natural resources that we've lost.
And it's just like somehow this super dense water.
Yeah, water or air or something where it's like that is the Earth is dying, and that's why it's so expensive.
Hell, we can just call it oxygenite
Yeah,
because then it's like, oh, we get it
sounds
because
like a Pokemon.
it does. But it like oxygenite because like literally you can take this, bring it to Earth, and you have clean, breathable air for a full city block for a year from just this little bit.
Or even like that's what's powering their masks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like it's a perfect filter that fits over your masks that lasts forever. Mm-hmm. But they need it for 12 billion people.
Yeah.
And this is the size of a moon and not the size of a planet.
Yes.
So it's hard. And because it's so oxygen rich, like taking it away kills that aspect of the environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. Yeah, tie it into it being part of the forest.
Yeah. Because the forest is what manufactured it.
Yes.
Which is something that we didn't talk about, but I feel like we kind of need to discuss how, like, literally the unobtainium in the movie, they need to say, like, this is created by, like, the soul tree. Like, it's literally, like, like, you need to figure out that it's even more linked together. Like, this is the core component that, like, it's, if the trees are soul, like, even, like, over eons of these soul trees breaking down, this is what gets left behind. Mm-hmm. This is the fossil fuel of the planet, but it's fossil fuel from, like, pure soul.
Yeah.
So, like, you're literally stealing the soul of, like, the even more ancient souls of the world.
Yeah, and
like, if the tree goes back a dozen generations, this goes back 200 generations.
Yeah, and I think they're only finding small pockets because I you know,
It's small tribes.
Well, I was gonna say this is a whole other conversation about souls and life and shit, but like the animals.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
they're.
yeah.
I mean, make it like an almost a direct parallel of fossil fuel. It's like these are the souls of the animals that died
Great.
centuries ago.
Good. And instead of finding new ways to manufacture life and energy or anything, it's just they literally had to go to a new world and find a new form of fossil fuel instead of inventing something else.
Yeah.
Good. I love it.
Boom. Yeah. I totally dig it. I'll call up James. We'll work it all out.
I also didn't mention this before, but when we get to writer, one of the things I messaged you ahead of time was that our writer needs to be from some First Nation tribe some way, because if we're going to be having that allegory, we need to have someone who can actually write to that allegory.
Absolutely.
But we'll get there. In the meantime, I have a couple of other roles here and there where the actor I cast is Native American or Native Canadian. My Na'vi are just a mix of not white people.
Yeah, so I was having a hard time finding like Na'vi actors because we don't see them. They're kind of just voices.
They are. So my friend Diane, who was just on for the remake of In a Lonely Place, she recommended that just get voice actors. If everything's going to be CG anyway, just get people who have really good voices. And and you and I both love voice actors, and I considered doing that, but I'm like, the way these movies are made is you do the mocap.
Right.
And which is different from the way this movie was made 12 years ago, 13 years ago when it was actually filmed. And I feel like that can make it feel more real. Because every time I saw Sigourney Weaver's face on a Na'vi body, it was real weird to me.
It is. It's very weird.
And I don't like it. But if it's like actual mocap, I think it would be better. And so I think you need actual actors. Yeah. And specifically for Neytiri, I made sure to cast someone who's an actual dancer.
Yeah, and also you can play with ages a lot more. Because like while it's still mocap, you know, Neytiri's kind of an ambiguous age, but I would guess kind of early 20s.
That's kind of what I did too.
Yeah, but you can cast a 30-year-old.
You can. I still cast someone in her 20s, but yes, I agree with you.
I also, this is kind of just a dumb fun fact, I was scrolling through the cast list, and I'm like, why are there no like young native people in this movie? And I realized this was filming tangentially to the Twilight saga, and I scrolled through Twilight, and they basically like had the market on every native actor under 30 was just in one of the Twilight movies.
Well, there was a big article that went out, I don't know when this happened, but basically from the WGA Indigenous Committee, basically saying that one of the least represented communities in Hollywood are Indigenous people.
I tried to Google, and it's less so than a percentage.
Few. And so, like, there's a bunch of names on this thing. And so, like, I went through and looked at the IMDb for every single one of them to, like, figure out who I wanted my writer to be. But it's so few. And so you'd have to do some pretty serious casting, but I think it's possible.
The first name that always pops up, I don't know how it was for you, but every article is just like, Danny Trejo, he's here.
Yeah, I guess. But I didn't cast Danny Trejo.
Neither did I.
Cool.
He doesn't fit the vibe.
No, not at all. Like, if he was 50 years younger, maybe he'd be a good Sute. Or 40 years younger, but I don't think he is now.
Yeah.
But let's start with Jake.
Okay.
Who did you have for your Jake Sully?
I had a hard time finding a Jake.
Jake was also difficult for me.
Because he's kind of just generic white guy.
Yeah, so I did make a point of casting a not white guy for Jake.
As did I.
For, like, the Parker Selfridge, for Colonel Miles Kortic, and even for Dr. Grace. They're all white. But for Jake, it needed to not be a white dude.
Okay. So my white choice was Charlie Hunnam.
Okay.
Just because I like him. He's
That's
cool.
That's fair. Then I got nothing against Charlie Hunnam.
My other choice, my kind of real choice, is, I'm going to mispronounce his name, Avan Jogia.
I don't know that one.
This is showing my generation. Did you ever watch Victorious?
I'm aware of Victorious.
He's the hot boyfriend on Victorious. He plays Beck.
What does he do now?
He's still acting. He's also writing and producing.
Oh,
But what I know him now from is he's on, this is, again, telling how I spend my time. He's a big voice on TikTok right now talking about what it's like being an actor in Hollywood, especially a young actor.
Okay.
And trying to transition out of acting into producing and how near impossible it is.
Say his name again?
Avan
Jogia?
Yes.
Okay, I'm looking at him now. He was also in the recent remake of Shaft. He's in Zombieland Double Tap. Yeah, that's a good pull, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like him. He has a good energy about him. And I think he's not bulky, but you can kind of get him to the build of ex-Marine. That's a pretty easy thing to do nowadays.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily need to be Batista. You just need to be muscular.
Right.
You don't need to be ripped. You just need to be, fit.
Yeah.
As the British
You don't need a
people would
Kumail.
say. Yeah.
You need, like, half of an Ant-Man.
Yeah, you can even do, like, yes, basically yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I went with an actor that's been around for a while, and he's kind of had just such a variety of different roles. I wanted someone who can kind of... The Jake Sully we have in the movie kind of tries to be funny, and it doesn't work. So I need someone who can kind of be funny while also kind of being tough. And he's an actor that is very recognizable, and if you're going to be doing a remake of this movie, you kind of got to have a recognizable guy. But I didn't go with, like, the most A-list. This is an actor who was in Skins. He was in Newsroom. And most recently, he's now in Green Knight.
Okay.
I went with Dev Patel.
Yes, yep.
But I think Avan Jogia is better. I think that's a better pull. I think that's more interesting. And I think when you talked about what he's doing on TikTok of kind of talking what it's like to be modern Hollywood, I think that's a better choice for this role. So while I love Dev Patel, I do think Avan Jogia is the way to go.
Cool. Yeah, and I think he's also just like a hair younger.
Yeah, Dev Patel I think is in his 30s, and
He's like
is
29.
29.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good. So then you went first for that one. Let me tell you about my Natiri.
Cool.
So because of the movements and stuff that Zoe Saldana had to do, or theoretically had to do, it was important to me to find someone who is a dancer for this role. So a young actress who also dances, because our Jake Sully is 29, so I was casting like also mid to late 20s. So this actress I found was in something called How It Ends, but she's also a voice actress, and so she was in The Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but she first became famous because she had a role in Vampire Diaries.
Okay.
This actress is named Kat Graham. The obvious choice that I imagine a lot of people would come in, and there's a distinct possibility that you are going to say Zendaya.
I didn't put her down. It was on my tongue the entire time.
But I feel like it's a possibility, and that's like the first, like, without putting any thought into it, that's what people will go with. But like, I think Zendaya is a very good actress, but I think what we've kind of learned from Space Jam is that she's not necessarily a voice actress.
That's exactly why I didn't put her down, was because of the bunny.
Yeah, which is a shame, but we've learned.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be able to see her so we can see her doing what, like, because vocally she's not very interesting, but it's what she's doing with her face and her emotions that really make her so phenomenal. 'Cause she's an amazing actress.
Yes.
But not just because of her voice, it's because of her everything.
Right.
Although she does have the dance background. So that's why I thought Kat Graham was a more interesting choice. She's actually 31, so she's a little bit older, which kind of makes sense with the dynamic I think we'd be going with, but anyway, that's who I had.
Yeah. And also, again, we can change the age. It's CGI.
The age doesn't really matter. Like, they're not going to go, well, according to your Earth years, I'm 31. Age doesn't actually matter.
Yeah.
It's more perceived.
This is full anime logic at this point.
Absolutely. Well, let's not go that far. We don't.
She's 12.
We don't need a waifu in this.
We need a waifu in this.
Oh, no.
And that's why I picked.
Oh, no. So I'm sorry. Who did you have for Natiri?
No, I love the dance aspect. I didn't even think about that. I kind of just went with actresses that I've seen recently, and I really enjoyed their performance, and I think they could fit well in here. Tessa Thompson, I threw in there.
Of course.
She's great. I also think she would make a great Trudy, but we'll get to that later.
Trudy?
Michelle Rodriguez.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Trudy Chacon, yes.
Yeah.
Her name's Michelle Rodriguez.
It's just Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah. I was like, Trudy?
Which was very hard to recast.
I do have someone for that, but yes, go on.
And then the other actress, again, a little bit older, Juju Mbatha Rao. I horribly pronounced that. Renslayer from Loki.
Yes, Juju Mbatha Rao. The reason I know that name is because last episode, when I remade The Abyss, which that is who we ended up going with over Haley Atwell.
Okay.
So,
oh wow, that's a tough
yeah.
challenge.
So
right
I
there.
brought in Haley Atwell because like I wanted her, like she's a good, strong female lead, and I want her in more things because she's amazing. And then Tom brought in Juju Mbatha Rao, and I was like, that's perfect, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have us go with Kat Graham because
Yes.
A, it's a name I've never used before, and B, because we literally just went with her last episode, which is great. It's a good pull. You did a good job.
Thank you, Sam.
No.
No, I agree. I fully agree with going with your choice.
But that brings us to Dr. Grace Augustine.
Okay.
Augustine.
Yes.
Sigourney Weaver.
Mm-hmm. I only had one pull for this. I threw in Rosario Dawson.
Oh, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm. I think she'd play it very differently.
Yeah,
because
obviously.
Sigourney Weaver is very hard and tough.
Yes.
And I think Rosario can play that, but she has this like motherly presence of like always having to take care of the people around her, even if she's kind of jaded doing so.
Mm-hmm. I think that's good. I think Rosario Dawson's actually a really, really good choice. For Dr. Grace Augustine, I also did dance experience because I basically wanted people to be able to kind of do the movement of the motion capture.
Mm-hmm.
But I also went with someone who kind of could do like Sigourney Weaver energy, specifically Sigourney Weaver energy in the role. So I went with Amy Adams.
Okay.
And I'm genuinely torn because I like both those choices. Let's come back to this.
Yeah, I'm happy with either.
Yeah, I'm happy with either also. So basically whenever I'm happy with either, it's like, well, let's see who got more and give it to the other one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think those are both great. Good. Let me talk about my Colonel Miles Kortic.
Okay.
This guy was tough, but he was one of the people I cast first because I'm like, oh, it's so easy to find white actors, no problem. So I wanted someone who didn't just immediately come off as like, yeah, you're a dick. I wanted someone to be like, yeah, no, we're going to be friends. I'm so glad you're here on this planet. We're doing good things. We're protecting the people. We're doing the right stuff.
Yeah, you want the slow burn.
Slow burn. And I think this guy has played immediate evil, slow burn into not so evil, but like kind of a whole, we can trust him but not trust him because he was in Iron Man 2 and 3 Billboards and Moon. Sam Rockwell. Yeah.
I love Sam Rockwell to death. I think he's a better Parker than he is Colonel.
That's fair.
Because Colonel, like, I agree, I like the slow burn, but I think he still needs that, like, military cut.
Fair. I agree with you. Okay. Tell me who you had.
I think the obvious choice that I don't want to go with, but it's the first name that popped in my head, is Jeffrey Dean Morgan. It's just the exact same performance over
basically.
Again. My other pick, my kind of left field pick, is Desmond Hansu.
Oh, from Heroes. No. Who am I thinking of?
No, I know him from Never Back Down. He is the guy, the first alien we meet in Guardians when Star-Lord steals the thing.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "Who are you?
Who are you? Like who?"
Yeah.
Oh,
he's that guy.
Yeah.
He's kind of in the background of a lot of these movies,
and he's so good.
He's so good.
Yes, absolutely him.
Yeah. Because I wrote him down twice because I wanted him to be in here.
The only problem I have with him is that what are the optics of putting not a white guy in charge of the, quote, American military?
So with that, I thought it was funny that...
Especially someone with such a strong, not American accent.
Yes.
Because I love Jimon Hansu.
Mm-hmm.
But...
My thinking with this is they kind of make it very clear who are the good guys and bad guys just by race in this movie.
Yeah.
Where all the white people are the bad ones and all of the non-white people minus the trio are the good ones.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to mix that up a little bit. Equal opportunity evil.
You know what? That's fair. I'll give that to you. Great. Equal opportunity evil. What matters isn't the race. What matters is the intent and the actions.
Yes. And he's such an intense person.
Yeah. And I think he's amazing. That's a good pull. I like that. And I think you're correct. Great. Let's talk about Trudy Chacon, otherwise known as Michelle Rodriguez.
This was very hard.
Yes, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. Am I starting this one?
Yes, you are.
Okay. I had 2 pulls for this. Again, I think Michelle Rodriguez was there and they wrote the character around her.
Basically,
so it's very hard to recast this one. My first pull was Gemma Chan from... Oh my gosh, Crazy Rich Asians.
Oh yeah,
She's the one that's like secretly hiding stuff from her husband who finds out he's in the affair.
Sure.
She's also the voice of Namari from Raya, that recently came out.
Right.
The villain.
Yeah.
And she's soon to be Circe in the Eternals.
Cool.
Yeah, just kind of has this cool like brooding energy about her.
Mm-hmm.
Second choice, and I think we briefly talked about the movie she's in, Mackenzie Davis.
From Dark Fate?
Yes.
Okay.
She's the Terminator and right? Or she's a Terminator.
She's not a Terminator. She's an enhanced human.
Okay, I've not seen the movie.
It's good.
Okay.
I would not put her in this. She's not that. No.
Okay.
Like, I would more likely go with Gemma Chan, but I think in this case, I might have a better person. So
totally fair.
I went with someone. She was also in Pop Star. Never Stopping.
Yep.
But she's also in The Walking Dead. And so, like, if you can survive in The Walking Dead, you can be a Michelle Rodriguez kind of surrogate. This actress's name is Christian Marie Serratos.
Oh, she's Selena in the Selena biopic.
Cool.
Yeah.
But basically, like, she does kind of the big, intense action kind of things, and therefore I thought she'd be a decent person to attempt a Michelle Rodriguez replacement. Even though no one can really ever hold a candle to Michelle Rodriguez, I think she would be pretty good.
Yeah, totally down for it.
Great.
Oh my god. She...
What just happened?
Oh my god. She was the love interest from Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide.
Okay.
Yes. She was Susie Crabgrass.
Good. That's a good name.
Yep.
Good. I love it.
All right. I'm even more in with this actress.
Fantastic. That brings us to Dr. Max Patel, and it's my turn to go first. The problem with the actor who played Dr. Max Patel in the first movie is that he's not old and he like hasn't aged, really, right? Mm-hmm. So I wanted someone who kind of had that same sort of energy, but obviously this is a global effort, and I want someone who, like Jimon Hansu, isn't just, hey, look, it's Americans and aliens. Mm-hmm. Like, global effort. So I cast, and because the guy's name is Patel, he needs to be of Indian descent. So I cast an actor who's never really been a lead in anything except for kind of this project that he kind of produced on his own, which was called Brown Nation, but he went back and forth between Bollywood and Hollywood.
Okay.
So he was in a Bollywood production called Three Idiots. He's in Brown Nation. He had a couple, he was in Arrested Development for a little bit. This actor's name is Omi, O-M-I, Vaidya, V-A-I-D-Y-A. It's a bit of a one-for-one, but because he has the comedy experience, like he even had a role in the Lisa Kudrow thing. The Comeback, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a one episode thing and he played the Uber driver. So it's like...
Thanks, Hollywood.
Yeah, it's like, give this guy an actual role.
Yeah.
So, Vaidya.
Okay.
I thought it would be fun.
I'm fully in for that. I honestly didn't think you'd make it this far down the list, because he was the last person I listed.
Fair.
Because he's
so
insignificant.
There's 11 people, so I can't, like, that's it, and that's all we get, so I just cast all 11.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so I did say. So my was kind of a throwaway pick. It was just more of a personal choice for me for wanting to see it. Oscar Isaac.
Oh, that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, that's fine.
He's too famous.
Yeah, that's when I was casting Norm, I had the same problem.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Norm. Who'd you have for Norm?
Okay. I had to kind of struggle with this, because Norm he's the sidekick trope to a T.
Yes.
And a lot of the people I was looking for are, I think, too attractive for that role.
Yes.
So I have two kind of decent choices and one very left field choice, just to fully change up the game. The first choice is too attractive, and I'm going to pitch it anyway. Adrian Grenier, also known as Vinny Chase from Entourage.
Okay.
I don't know. Because with Norm, an aspect of his character that I wanted them to lean into more, which they just fully blew past, is he should be more jaded towards Jake. Because he spent 500 hours of his life practicing his Navi, being in the Avatar body, dedicating his life to this, and then this no-name takes his opportunity, and he's fully cast aside by the people. You never see him enter the village.
Yeah, he lucks into being a part of the village, which is something that Norm has wanted probably as long as he's known that this thing existed.
Yeah, so I was picking actors that like are good at that very jaded...
Fair.
While still being, like, kind of there.
Yeah, I agree that Adrian Grenier is too attractive, though. Grenier.
Yeah, thank you. I mispronounced it.
I don't know that I'm pronouncing it right. Grenier. Could be anything. No one will ever know.
It's Vinny Chase, and it's only Vinny Chase.
Sure.
Daniel Bruhl is my second choice. He's Zemo from Falcon Winter Soldier.
Okay. Got it.
Again, he just has that good, like, pouty...
good jaded energy. You're
Yeah.
really trying to cast someone in their 40s for this role.
I did go a little older for him.
Which is fine. I got no problem with that.
And then my super left field choice, just because, like, I think it'd be really interesting if we flip the genders on some of these. Aaron Moriarty from...
The Boys?
The Boys, thank you, yeah.
That's a fun choice also. This also is a good character. I also considered doing a gender swap on this character, and then I ended up not doing that, but she is a good choice.
I feel like she can play jaded, and also, like, she's very attractive, but I think she could also play, like, the uncomfortable nerd pretty well.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Mm-hmm. And she's the right level of fame.
Yes, I agree with that too. For me, what I ended up doing for this role was... I think this is actually the only time I did this. So one of the things that made it really convenient for me to find Native American performers right now was there's a show coming out called Reservation Dogs, which is about a bunch of people on a reservation.
Amazing.
And I think this is the only actor I actually cast from this. So this actor is a member of the Mohawk tribe. So he's in Reservation Dogs, but he was also had a role in American Gods. He was in The Lie. And I thought for this particular role, someone who really might be fascinated with an indigenous tribe on another planet might be someone who's from an indigenous tribe on this planet.
I love that.
And so this actor's name is Devery Jacobs. And I did gender swap it. I forgot.
Oh, it's a she. Okay.
Yeah, Devery Jacobs. I guess I did gender swap it, and for the exact same reason, and I forgot that I did that. But yes, I'm sorry. Devery Jacobs. So it would be very fascinated, and she has had all these different roles. Mm-hmm. And so I just thought she'd be fun. She is a little bit on the younger side.
Oh, she's... Okay, I remember going by her name, because she's cast as Tiger Lily in the live-action Peter Pan that's coming out soon.
I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. I did not know that, but there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought she'd be fun, if you're okay with that.
Oh, yeah, totally fine with that.
Cool. So then the 4 roles I have left are Parker Selfridge, Sute, Moat, and Etukan.
Etukan, yeah.
So let's knock out the rest of our humans with Parker Selfridge. So I wanted so I actually went someone who I've seen perform recently, this actor is Italian. I saw him in The Old Guard, and I just thought he was really good and charming, but I think he could play intense very well, and so could really play the conflict that is absent or is unearned in the character as we have him now. So I've only seen him in The Old Guard, but he's had other roles. Like, he's in something called They Call Me Jeeg. He was in Martin Eden. This actor is named Luca Marinelli. Luca is spelled like the movie, which is very good, and then Marinelli, Marinelli.
Yes, okay, that is the one I was thinking of. Yeah, so he's the one in the relationship in The Old Guard.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I dig that.
Yeah.
He has the right look.
Yeah, he's the right look. It's a 1-for-1 casting, but then I cast someone who was unknown.
Yes.
But who did you have?
Because I also did 1-for-1 casting for 2 of them. Because I wanted him to be more of a comedic character. I understand that he should be more of the conflicted one.
I think if we go with Jimon Hansu for Colonel Miles Kortic, then this guy can be the slow burn.
Okay.
More so.
Got it.
But yes, I agree with you. Who did you have?
So my 1-for-1 is I love Giovanni Ribisi, but every time I see him, I think it's someone else, and then I get sad when it's not him.
Okay.
The Tooch, Stan the Tooch Tucci.
Okay.
I love Stanley Tucci in anything and everything.
I'm aware.
I have a nickname. But my left field choice is, I think if we're going with the slow burn, I think he'd fit this very well. John Cho.
Oh, okay.
I guess Star Trek, Harold and Kumar.
Yeah.
Was the one with his daughter missing, which was very good.
Searching?
Yes, thank you. I think that could be a really interesting, more serious take on it.
I agree. I think that's a good choice.
Because he's like, when I was looking at this character, my first thought is like corporate sleaze.
Yeah.
It's like, who can just have that smile that just makes you want to punch them in the face?
And I think casting John Cho for that is I think that's a good choice. I think we should go with John Cho. I think that is an excellent idea.
Yeah, so if that was my left field, I have my in the nosebleeds, sticking with the metaphor.
Okay.
Jermaine Clement. Just as like the pure comedy side.
That would be a very different portrayal of the character.
Very different. But I think John
Cho's the way to go. I think Jermaine Clement would be distracting.
Yes.
I think if we had more time to spend with him, then Jermaine Clement would be fun because it'd be a weird take. But I think for the role as it is, I don't think it should be expanded, and I think for that, John Cho is a good choice.
Yes.
Cool. That brings us to the 3 other members of the Na'vi tribe, and I think there should be more, but for our purposes, we have these 3 in addition to Neytiri.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Tsute, Mo'at, and Etukan.
Yes.
So let's start with Tsute. Who did you have for Tsute?
Also went First Nation.
Uh-huh. I did for 2 out of 3 of these, but not for Mo'at.
Okay. Mo'at, I have a very interesting one. So he played the son in The Revenant, and he also has another show coming out soon, which I think he might be on Reservation Dogs. But his name is Forrest Goodluck.
Okay. That's a great name.
It is. He has a very good, serious face.
Yeah, I like him.
Mm-hmm. And he's again kind of an unknown. I think kind of coming into it. He's on the younger side, which I think if we're kind of depending on what we're doing with Neytiri, I think we can kind of mimic it with what we do with
No, I think this is a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my logic is fairly similar. It's another actor I'm not that familiar with, but he's been acting for a very, very long time. He's a little bit older.
Okay.
So he kind of is in the line of a little bit more established, and then this young kid's coming and taking my way. Like to the point where he was a kid in iRobot. He was a kid in Shanghai Noon. He's native Canadian. This actor's name is Simon Baker.
Okay, that sounds familiar. Okay. Oh, wow. No, this must be the wrong one.
Yeah, it's a different one.
Okay, yeah, because I'm like,
not that one. It's Simon Baker on IMDb. Not 1, but 3.
Okay. I like his face.
Yeah.
A lot.
And you want someone who gives like an interesting face for the purposes of like motion capture.
Right.
So I'm perfectly happy to go with either Simon Baker or Forrest Goodluck. I think both of them bring very different things to the role.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's fine. As long as they kind of have that high school bully mentality, I think either one of these people would be interesting. I'm inclined with going with your choice because I think he has the better like stoic face of like I'm chief in running. And I would think that would be true of someone who was 35 over someone who was 22.
Yeah.
All right, that's fair. Okay, so then you went first for that one. So let me tell you about who I had for Mo'at, the spiritual leader. I kind of flipped it a little bit and had this be kind of like had the mom be a little bit more warrior and the dad be a little bit more spiritual. I stunt cast this a little bit just because I know that you happen to love this actress. But I didn't want it to be all First Nations. I wanted it to be like a blend of just not white people. But this is an actress who was in Mandalorian. She's in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She's in Mulan.
Oh, yeah. Ming-Na Wen.
Ming-Na Wen, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I thought she'd be fun.
Okay.
And
that's hilarious you picked that, which you'll understand in a second.
All right. It just felt like we need another Disney tentpole for her to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And this seemed like the one.
I dig that.
Cool. Who do you have?
Funny enough, a different Disney princess.
Oh, did you really?
Because everyone makes fun of this being a remake of Dances with Wolves, Ferngully, and Pocahontas, why not cast Pocahontas as Moat?
I don't know who played Pocahontas.
Irene Bedard is her name. She's not in a lot. But having that as like an ode to kind of, it's thematic ancestor.
Yeah.
I think could be really interesting. My other choice is Angela Bassett. Because, why not?
I think Irene Bedard is a better choice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tempted to go with that. I think that's... We both went kind of with like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge kind of person. And I think your wink, wink, nudge, nudge person is a little bit better.
Well, because it's literally going from Pocahontas to Grandmother Willow.
Yeah, although I wouldn't word it that way when you reach out to her.
Right, and I would never. Yeah, but I think that'd be a good kind of bringing a tree branch to the... Reaching out a tree branch to the branch. That's the one. Look, my neighborhood, we don't got those rich olive branches. We just got those tree branches.
Great. All right, so who did you have for Etuken?
This actor, I had a hard time finding one for Etuken because when I was looking up kind of older natives, the guy they cast is kind of the face I kept seeing.
Yeah.
Wes Studi.
Mm-hmm.
But connected to him, there was an actor I saw, Benjamin Bratt.
Okay.
Bratt. B-R-A-T-T. He is, I think, Spanish native, Peru native. He was the voice of Ernesto de la Cruz in Coco.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fun choice.
Yes, we know he can do voices well.
Yes.
And he also has that, that face.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that this is a good one for one. I think that this is the right kind of mentality. I think this is a great poll.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, good job. The person that I have is a member of the Membutu tribe, Membutu First Nation tribe. He was also in Cold Pursuit. He's in a show called Tribal. He was in Unsettled. This actor's name is Glenn Gould, Glengould. So it's one of the things where I recognized him. He has a different energy, so I think I might want to go with Benjamin Bratt. But I think that he is good and can kind of play the role. Play it differently necessarily than the way it was played the first way, but kind of went with the sort of matchup I had of Moat being a little bit more warrior and Etuken being a little bit more spiritual.
Yeah. Or even just a little more family.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. But I think Benjamin Bratt is a more interesting choice.
I just I can't imagine this face, Glenn Gould, without the mustache.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we don't know if Na'vi can grow facial hair.
That's true. Well, that is true. We don't.
Would it also have, if they...
Would it also have little tentacles?
To grow Fu Manchu, would it also...
Well, it's like, if the ponytail gets cut off, their only option is to grow a beard and grow just the longest goatee and just plug their chin into whatever they're trying to connect with.
Yeah.
Gross.
It's good. I'm James is going to love these ideas.
Yeah.
He's very open to other people's ideas.
Oh, yeah. Very well known to be a super chill dude.
Yeah.
Just
very collaborative guy.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think Benjamin Bratt, because I think he'd be able to have a little bit more charisma and than just being the elder statesman. Mm-hmm. But yeah. So that is it in terms of cast. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Amazing.
So I don't know.
Which one were we discussing?
Rosario Dawson and Amy Adams for Dr. Grace Augustine.
I'm fine going Amy Adams. I'll concede. Do you also want to concede?
Fine. I was about to, but I'll take it with the logic that we might come back to it, since I'm pretty confident in my writer and director.
Good. Well, I think also we need, because we have kind of, I know you don't go into very much of we need a big actor or actress to be like the tentpole of this franchise.
Yeah.
We didn't really go with a huge name for Jake or for Neytiri.
That's true, and it'd be nice if we had someone. Mm-hmm. Although I would say Rosario Dawson might be a bigger actress than Amy Adams.
I don't think so. I think Amy Adams holds the Midwest moms.
That's fair. All right. Mm-hmm. You know what? You're right. We got to get the Midwest moms somehow.
Yeah.
And
It can't just be me taking my mom over and over
we also
again.
did a pretty good job of not really casting any white people.
Yeah.
So we might need one. Did we not cast any? Yeah, all right, fine. Amy Adams it is then.
Cool.
Oops.
Hey,
Good. I got no problem with
Yeah,
it.
we still got the rainbow covered.
Yeah, who cares? So that brings us to writer. Writer was the toughest for me to find, just for all the reasons we mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm. I fully left this one up to you.
Oh, okay.
Because I did anyone I looked up, I didn't know.
Okay, so one of the first, so I had 3 names. The first one that I dismissed was someone who's really just worked on comedies. The person I ended up going with was someone who did mostly comedies, but had also been a showrunner, so could kind of have that level of expertise and was a little bit older, and so would be able to stand up to the director and kind of say, well, this is the way it is in this way, and this is what this is the stereotypes we're trying to avoid. So the person I dismissed, I'm going to say all their names, is Kelly Lynn D'Angelo. She worked on Final Space, she worked on Miracle Workers, which are fun shows, but didn't really fit the tone here.
Mm-hmm.
The person I dismissed second, he hasn't done as much. The movie that he made, but he's all of the one who'd written movies. He wrote a movie called Eagle Eye. It's the Shia LaBeouf movie where he's running and stuff.
I had to make sure.
But he's also currently working, or it's in post-development or something, on a movie and its sequel. The movie is called Here There Be Dragons, and then the sequel is called Search for the Red Dragon, which are based off some fantasy novels that I have read.
Oh, which ones?
Here There Be Dragons and Search for the Red Dragon.
Sense.
And I read them because I think the author's from Tucson, Arizona, which is where I'm from. And so as someone who has written a dramatic movie and is now working on fantasy movies, it kind of fit. But it hasn't come out yet, and they've kind of been in development for a while, so I'm like, I don't know. It's possible he's the better choice.
Well, I mean, it fits James Cameron, though.
It does. But I ended up going with Sierra Teller Ornelas because she is Native American descent and also has written on Happy Endings and Superstore, and she created a show called Rutherford Falls.
Oh, that's the Peacock...
Yes.
Yeah, it's the next of the What's-His-Face shows.
Michael Schur?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So because she was a showrunner and she had that experience, I thought she'd be able to work well with whichever director we got. And I felt like she would have the confidence to be able to stand up and say, no, that... So, like, there's a lot of different things you don't realize are little microaggressions that have kind of just, like, traversed culture. Like, using a term like, oh, well, my spirit animal is... Don't use that, because it's diminishing an actual belief of indigenous people. Like, that's not a term people should use.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think she'd be good at making sure that all these little things that might get input and people who don't have a background in this culture use, I think she'd be good at being able to stand up for and preventing that from happening.
Did Brother Bear have a white writer?
I don't know. I would imagine.
It looks like it.
Yeah, probably.
Steven...
Ooh.
Yes. Okay, so that was...
But yeah, so the writer I have is Sierra Teller Ornelas.
Okay.
And so I thought she'd be good and confident enough to be able to stand up for her.
Yeah, I fully dig that. I think...
Plus, she can actually write comedy, which James Cameron cannot.
Yes, I was going to say, this movie needs, like, 3 jokes.
Yes.
Because right now it has none.
It has... Well, no, it has some. They're just not funny.
Okay.
So we don't know that they're jokes.
Okay.
Like, I'm sure it has moments where, like, there was a brief pause to allow the audience to laugh, and then we just didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we need them.
Yes.
Like, even the moment when, like, the weirdest moment for comedy is when it should not be happening, which is when, like, after Jake and Natiri have sex and the spirit forest is being bulldozed, there's that weird moment where she's desperately trying to wake Sully, and they're having the super chill, you gotta eat some eggs, you gotta have, and it's, like, weirdly, like, I get it and it kind of fits in the moment, but like it didn't work for me. It needs to either be genuinely funny, but like, you gotta eat some eggs before you go in your pie.
Well, I mean, they like slowly worked up to it of like, he kept leaving the table early and she kind of like hand him his drink or something.
But it was bad, and like really, it felt to be really diminishing Natiri. The fact that Natiri is like risking her own life, and like she's watching her ancestors be demolished around her.
Yes.
While trying to wake up this guy she just admitted she's in love with and bonded herself to life for.
Right.
So, actual comedy would be nice. So anyway, let's talk about director.
Okay. I'm up. I am not good with directors. That is fully Chris's realm when it comes to these conversations. So I just picked the 2 people that did sci-fi movies that I liked recently.
Fair enough.
So Denis Villeneuve,
Villanueva,
Yes.
who was the director we went with for The Abyss last episode.
Great.
He is a good choice for a James Cameron replacement because he does the intense, deep sci-fi.
And he's good with color, and that's
Yes.
such a big part of this movie.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. So I think he is a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
But who was the other person you had just in case?
Alec Garland.
I don't know him.
He did Ex Machina and he did Annihilation.
Oh.
Also good with colors.
Absolutely.
That was a big thing for me. It's like, I need a director who can just make something vibrant. Fuck any like connection to the muddy, dull Gladiator Dark Knight bullshit.
Yes, I agree with that. So I told you that for me it was important to have someone who was themselves an artist outside of being a director.
Mm-hmm.
So I found this list of directors who were artists, and James Cameron is a painter, Ridley Scott's a painter. I consider Ridley Scott, but I'm like, no, I can't go with that. Because the other person who's like a sculptor and a painter is Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So that's who we have to go with.
Hell, oh my god, and the creature design in this movie is like fine. It's kind of one for one for like.
But we need someone
Yeah.
who would, especially someone who would nerd out and be super passionate about like just creating the world.
Yes.
And that's what Guillermo del Toro would be.
Absolutely.
And so that's who I thought. I mean, like, talented artists, Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy, just the world of Troll Hunters.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. And I think...
And he's really good at making uncomfortable sex scenes with aliens.
Exactly. That's what we need.
That's the only reason we need it.
Exactly. So, are you okay
How
with
can he make tentacle porn hot?
He'll give
He'll
it a
do
go.
it. Yes, I'm
But
fully
yeah.
down with Guillermo.
Okay, great. So that's who I thought would be a fun director.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah,
So in
fully
that
it.
case, we have our list.
Okay.
Let me take you through our avatar. This time for real, though.
Okay.
Whatever the tagline would be. Avatar.
It's not the one you're thinking of.
Avatar. The only element is heart.
Yep.
Jake
Soul.
Sully.
Soul.
Yeah, basically. Avatar, soul.
Yes.
Jake Sully is going to be played by Ivan Jogia. I'm so bad. I'm so white.
Hey, we both are, man.
Which is why we were really good choices for this.
Yep.
But nonetheless, Neytiri will be Kat Graham. Dr. Grace Augustine will be Amy Adams. Colonel Miles Kortic will be Juman Hansu. Trudy Chacon will be Christian Marie Serratos. Dr. Max Patel will be Omi Vaidya. Norm Spellman will be Devery Jacobs. Parker Selfridge will be John Cho. Tsute will be Simon Baker. Moat will be Irene Bedard. Etuken will be Benjamin Bratt. All of this will be written by Sierra Teller Ornelas and directed by Guillermo del Toro.
Hell yeah.
Cameron, you gonna go see this movie?
Absolutely.
Yeah! Alright, cool. We did it. We made a remake. So now's the time, plug some stuff. Tell everybody about where they can follow you and do things and internet.
Yeah, if you want to follow my other podcasts, as Chris Lord has plugged many times before, you can find us at Timm Talk Pod on, I don't do this part, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Gmail.
Yes, it is.
I zone out when he does this part.
Timm Talk.
Yeah, Timm Talk Pod on all of the above. If you want to find me, I have an art page where you can find that at Cameron.Dexter on Instagram. And if you want to see my face, you can find that at Cam_Dexter_adventures. It's mainly just me going to Disneyland.
Cool. If you're interested in following me, I am at Sam Gasch, SamGasch on Twitter, or you can follow the podcast, Ideal Remake, on Twitter, mostly Instagram, or you can join us on Facebook at Ideal Remake or Ideal Remake Podcast. Or if you're a fan of podcasts, the best thing you can do for Ideal Remake, for Timm Talk, for any podcast you like, is to go on Apple Podcasts and leave us 5 stars. It's great. It helps the almighty algorithm tell people, oh, hey, maybe this one's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is Avatar. Cameron, thank you so much for making me rewatch this movie after 12 years and for remaking it with me.
Hey, Sam, I see you.
Aw, thanks, buddy. I see you too. That was weird, because that was before that was pop culture.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, this predates pop culture, so this is where it's from, but also, no, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
But with that said, what's your favorite quote from the movie Avatar?
It's Siltsan Sheshe Siltsan.
Which means?
It's Sheshe is Natiri's is her Ikran, and it's basically just a good girl.
Oh.
Which I like.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very cute.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Cool.